What's up, everybody, and welcome to this special episode of Game Time here as we wrap up the end of 2023 NFL season, talking about everything that happened in the Super Bowl yesterday. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, joined as always by the new fan of the Kansas City Chiefs here, Winston A. Marshall.
What you're not gonna do is act like I didn't sit up here and say that I support the Chiefs. They're out here saying that I was one calling it and saying that they were gonna win this game. You're not gonna do this. And the reason I have this hat, I actually have a hat for, I want to say like 28 out of the 32 teams or some sort of memorabilia because of the SVU shit. So I went to Marshall's and I was like, what's the cheapest hat you got, motherfucker? And I bought every team, even teams I don't want to support. I got a Patriots hat, unfortunately. I unfortunately have an Eagles hat. I have all of them just so I can do this content. I did that for y'all. So no, you're not going to pretend like I just said, the Chiefs won. Oh, yeah. And I'm running around.
Fair enough. All right. Well, there we go. Winston A. Marshall laying the gauntlet down here, because we are definitely going to get into a hell of a conversation. There's probably going to be some debate here, some battles, some tears, some laughter, some joy, and then some anger, and then some hugs at the end for sure, because we're going to get into so much that happened with the Super Bowl here, Super Bowl 57. This is very much a Super Bowl centric show. We will have some NFL stories at the tail end of the show, but this is very much what we're focused on here. For everybody who's joining us right now, first of all, please remember to subscribe to the channel right off the bat. We're trying to get to that 1,000 subscribers so we can monetize this channel as a sports channel. So help us do that if you haven't done that yet. Leave a comment down below if you're watching later, and hit a like on this video as well. And the Streamlabs are open. I'm going to pin it in the chat in just a second, but it's in the description of this video. It's there on the screen. Send in your questions, thoughts, and comments about this game yesterday. One of the greatest Super Bowls ever. And let us know your thoughts on everything. All the big plays, the comeback, the ankle situation, Jalen Hurts' performance, and the ref's call at the end. Let us know what your thoughts are about on all of that stuff here as you send in your Streamlabs as we go along. But Winston, let's jump into this thing. All right, Patrick Mahomes on a gimpy ankle led his Chiefs back in the second half from a 10-point deficit, 24-14, after Jalen Hurts had fumbled the ball, causing the Chiefs to pick it up and tie it at 14-14. He had led the Eagles down on two separate drives to send them into halftime, 24-14, after they had injured Mahomes' ankle and one of the sacks or one of the tackles on Patrick Mahomes. Everything looked dire. It looked like the Eagles were going to come back and do exactly what I said they were going to do, win 41-17, and the Chiefs stomped through the Eagles throughout that second half, got themselves a favorable call there that put them in a position to kick the field goal by Harrison Butker and win the game 38-35. One of the greatest Super Bowls ever because of the back and forth. Neither one of these guys backing down, neither one of these teams backing down. But you can't deny the fact that the Eagles kind of didn't show up in the second half with their defense and blew a 10-point lead and ended up losing the game here, unfortunately, for the Philadelphia Eagles fans. But, of course, nothing but joy and celebration from the Kansas City Chiefs fans here. Winston, thoughts overall, just general overall thoughts on this Super Bowl, because we are going to go through it. We're going to get specific with some of our stuff that we're talking about here. But what did you think overall of this Super Bowl?
I think it might have been the best Super Bowl that I've seen. In my lifetime. Okay. At least the ones that I remember. I don't remember the ones as a kid when the Cowboys won. I don't remember. I wasn't really giving a crap about football like that until maybe high school.
Okay.
It's just not for me. This has been the best that I've seen.
Okay.
On top of that, man, it had everything. It had a stellar. The only thing it was lacking, in my opinion, and we'll get to it, is the commercials. I wasn't really vibing with the commercials this year. But it had a stellar halftime show with its own set of drama that kind of came with it. Good drama, but there were plenty of people that were not happy about finding out Rihanna is pregnant again. The number of Navy fans that were threatening ASAP's life because now this means Rihanna's album is probably not coming out for at least another year or two again.
True.
It's hilarious. But you had stellar quarterback play on both sides. You had plenty of points scored. This was very polar opposite to the Patriots-Rams game where nobody could see the end zone to save their life.
Yeah.
You had some really creative coaching. You had injury drama. You had everything. And then you had even the talks about, like, who really lost this game.
Yeah.
Was it the Eagles? Did the grass sabotage everybody? Was it the refs like taking the game and writing a script for people? There was so much across the board.
Yeah.
And what's so funny is I maybe can think of more tense moments, like say the first time the Giants beat the Patriots. The second one was interesting too, but that first one, especially because what was on the line for New England. That Cardinal Steelers game, obviously Larry Fitzgerald doing his thing.
Oh my God.
But then at the same time, Hines Ward coming in, or was it Plaxico? I can't remember. Whoever caught that last ball at the end.
Hines Ward. It was Hines Ward.
It was Hines. Okay. So you may have had more tense little moments in Super Bowls, but from top to bottom, this game had it all, and it was absolutely incredible. And I think the thing above all else, for Patrick Mahomes to go down like that at the end of the second quarter, and you're thinking this is it. Like there's no way Chad Henne is going to bail them out of this. Like he's good, but I don't think that's happening. And I said that if Mahomes is out, I think this game is over.
Yeah.
But for him to what some are calling pulling a Paul Pierce, which I do not think is what happened here. I genuinely think, because I was watching the way the Eagles were tackling, it was very clear they were targeting that man's ankle. It was very clear they were
How dare you? How dare you?
The tackles.
Cast
Go back and look at the tackles, Rocha. They were clearly charging that man's ankle as best they can. It had it all, and I absolutely loved it. And for people to say that this game was a waste because of that call is nonsense, and we'll get to the call. But it had it all. I loved it.
Yeah, when you look at the stat lines here, it's pretty incredible to look at what both of these players were able to do. And this is the deceptive part of it. Like, Mahomes won the MVP, but his stat line is not like thrilling. It's 21 of 27 for 182 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's the 3 touchdowns that win you over, but it's also that 26-yard scramble, kind of similar to the John Elway scramble against the Packers when he went airborne doing a helicopter swirl to get them in a position to win the game against the Packers in the Super Bowl. Here was Patrick Mahomes late in the fourth quarter after the Eagles looked like they were shutting down their receivers on that critical drive with less than 5 minutes left in the game, rumbling and stumbling and bumbling on a bum ankle there for 24 yards or 26 yards to put them in a favorable position that eventually led to Harrison Butker hitting that field goal. So it's the little things he did that kept his team in it. But I also think Jalen Hurts did an incredible job, 27 of 38 for 304 yards.
Absolutely.
Only 1 touchdown, but ran for 3 rushing touchdowns, which no quarterback has ever done in the history of the Super Bowl. Pretty incredible stuff there for him. Also ran in that 2-point conversion. After the Chiefs looked like they were going to take control of the game there late in the fourth, here come the Eagles marching down, scoring a touchdown, scoring a 2-point conversion to tie it up. Unfortunately, that call is going to be what a lot is always going to be tied to this game. What would have happened, Winston, if the call had gone, if they had not made the call? The Eagles have 90 seconds or less to drive down the field. Do they kick a field goal? Do they score a touchdown to win the game? Is this the beginning of the Jalen Hurts ascendancy? We don't know. Unfortunately, we weren't able to find out here. Unfortunately for Eagles fans, rather, we weren't able to find out here. But yeah, this game had everything. Eagles bouncing back, the Chiefs bouncing back, the fight, the grit. But at the end of the day, it goes to the Chiefs here, and Patrick Mahomes wins his second MVP. He wins his second Super Bowl, cementing himself as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I don't think anybody can have a conversation. Jay Will maybe needs to take a little break calling him the Michael Jordan of the NFL, but overall, he is one of the greatest quarterbacks. Yeah.
No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so just phenomenal stuff here, back and forth. What do you think was the key? I don't know. What was the key to this game that ended up leading to the Chiefs winning this game? Was it the adjustments at halftime? Was it the Eagles maybe realizing the weight of the moment? Because beating a team in the first half is way different than beating a team in the second half, especially in the Super Bowl, especially a team that's been there and done it already. Do you think that maybe the moment got too big for the Eagles in that second half and they got a bit too cautious, or did the Andy Reid and the Chiefs absolute game plan correctly for the second half for these Eagles?
I think it was twofold. I think the first for sure was that what an adjustment. I don't know if you saw when they came back from halftime, they asked the sideline reporters, so what did Andy Reid have to say? It's like, actually, I didn't get to talk to Andy because they're down. They said they refused to do an interview. So we're just going to have to wait and see. That is some killer instinct. Like, no, we got a job to do fucking attitude. And that's why Andy Reid is out here putting his name in the ring for being one of the greatest coaches to coach the game, because he understood we don't have time for that. Those are things that you do with pleasantries when things aren't important. You know what I'm saying? Like and if he was, I guarantee you, if they had said, Andy Reid, there will be a fine for you not telling the reporters. Fine me then. I'm here to win a Super Bowl. That was clutch. And you saw it because that opening drive led to a touchdown. And they were kicking ass and taking names in that first drive. And 100%. They dominated the second half. 24 points in the second half, man, by just rolling. So that's the first thing. And then the second, to be honest with you, the Eagles defense kind of failed here. They were not allowing scores like this, with the exception of some of the games where they got kind of like manhandled by like the Cowboys, say, and some other stuff. So there's that. They had the number 1 sacks in the league, 3rd all time by a team at 60 for the season. And you could not touch Mahomes once on a bad ankle.
They didn't sack him once. You're right.
That's a big drop, in my opinion. That's a big drop. And again, we will get to the call, but that's also not a time to be making potential moves like that. There's a reason, like someone was saying, there's a reason why Bradbury got dropped like he did from the Giants, because there is a moment where that's not a good time. Not in the red zone, not when the game's on the line, bro. You better be on your coverage. You better have somebody over the top. So for me, it feels a blend of Andy Reid and those Chiefs tightening things up and really getting to work in the second half, because the thing that's been really interesting about the Eagles, and we've talked about this, they have both not had to play a Patrick Mahomes caliber player in most of this season. Like they had some decent quarterbacks, but you weren't dealing with a Patrick, a Lamar, a Burrow type situation where they will come for your ass if you do not shut the door. And on top of that, you saw that defense that was known for keeping stuff tight and locked down, they started to fall apart. And that's despite Jalen Hurts, even with that very costly fumble, still playing at an MVP level and showing why he was the runner-up for MVP in the regular season, and showing why one little change in any of these situations, and we're having a very different conversation. I'm not going to put it all on that call because that's nonsense. There's a full game to be played, and it's not like the Saints being robbed by the Rams, where it is a ridiculous situation where it's like, if you don't hush up, bro, like that's clearly PI. So there's a lot at play here, but I think it's mainly Reid's adjustments and the Eagles defense not playing the way they have all year.
Let's take a look at this. Here's the stats of the Chiefs offense in the second half. 4 total drives. This is from Atfield Yates here. 4 total drives, touchdown, game-winning field goal. Mahomes was 13 of 14 with 2 passing touchdowns, 0 penalties, allowed 0 sacks, and had 0 negative runs against arguably the best defensive line in the NFL. And look, you can argue about the grass. I think that's a fair thing to have an argument about, but Sirianni right off the bat said everyone was playing on the grass. So it was, in essence, equal playing field. Everyone was having trouble with it. If it was a better field, would the Eagles have been able to get to Mahomes a little bit more quickly? Would they have been able to disrupt a little more things, get in the passing lanes, get in the running backs? We're never going to know because they didn't play on that field. But I know a couple of defensive linemen said they would beat their offensive linemen and then slip getting around the corner. So you hear that kind of stuff. So unfortunately, that's the truth. The NCAA, I think it was Michigan and TCU, when they played their game, they complained about the field in Arizona. So y'all need to fix that fucking field in Arizona, for God's sake. The Chiefs complained anything again, just throwing that out there.
Dude, the Chiefs complained about it too earlier on in the season when they played here. So it's definitely a situation. How does this field cost almost $1 million? And it's this bad? And like, to be honest with you, that was the true MVP of this game because so much nonsense happened because of this field. I thought Jake Elliott was about to be done for the game off of a kickoff because you saw him look like he just rolled his ankle. You know what I'm saying? So like, because that was the other thing about Mahomes' injury where I really was like, oh, we're like, the Chiefs are in trouble here. You already can't keep your footing. You have a big ass man essentially fall on top of that ankle. So you're just allowing for and oh my God, dude, that field was insane. I think that's the thing. If anybody wants to be mad about this game, That is the thing to be mad about.
Right. Everybody in unison can be mad about this. Both Eagles fans and Chiefs fans can come together on one thing, and that is to be mad about the field for sure. I will say this, and this is an incredible thing. Like, you've got to look at this. The Eagles were owning the Chiefs. Okay. They had only allowed, look, if you were remove that fumble touchdown, that's only 7.5 points from this vaunted offense of the Kansas City Chiefs in that first half. So clearly they had this thing dialed in. They knew exactly what they needed to do. And as I said earlier, Hurts fumbles that ball away for essentially a touchdown, or it is a touchdown rather. I was going to say a pick six, but whatever you call it, fumble for a touchdown. And most teams might crumble. Most teams will be like, oh no, they've tied it up. We were holding them off, but now here they come. No, the Eagles went down twice and scored 10 points. I think the biggest thing for me, Winston, where I look at the Eagles and I wonder what the fuck was going on, is them settling for field goals. And I think this was the danger when you're playing a team like the Chiefs. You have got to stay on their throats throughout the game. And in that second half, they kept settling for these field goals. Some of these play calls were a little suspect. Some of them not understanding how the Chiefs were going to call these blitzes, these defensive alignments, things. You saw Jalen Hurts struggle a little bit, kind of reading those defenses. And a number of Eagles fans I saw on some message boards were talking about the fact that a quarterback like Mahomes gives that defensive line and that defensive secondary some trouble. Jared Goff did the same thing when they played earlier in the year, that 38-35 game or something like that. You saw Goff being able to throw all over that Eagles secondary because he was getting that protection. He was understanding what to do. And unfortunately, that's what ended up happening for Eagles fans. Unfortunately, that's what ended up happening. So it was a great job by the Kansas City defense to bunker down, to settle down. And Mahomes himself even said, I felt like in the first half, we were getting swallowed up by the moment. The players were, and they weren't focused on just playing the game. And that's what we focused on saying in the halftime and put it in motion in the second half. So that's what championship teams do, Winston. They figure it out, make the adjustments, come back and finish out the game and get the victory. Certainly the Chiefs prove that.
Well, what I think the biggest thing that's the most important here, the Chiefs, more than anything, what they remind me of is the Warriors. The Warriors in the whole of their dynasty here.
100%.
They play solid enough to stay in the game in the first half, but need a little bit of time to kind of get warm and do the thing. And they are a third quarter team where they come in and they will blow a lead wide open here.
Yeah.
And while there wasn't a massive lead opened up for them in the third, it was really a lot of scoring in the fourth. You started giving the Eagles some real trouble. They only got a field goal in that game. Or in that quarter. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of a sudden things got turned up. And the funny thing is, there's a number of moments. Again, we're going to get to the call of the game that everybody wants to talk about. But there was a number of calls that were questionable before that. So, like, how about we acknowledge those before we jump to this ruin the whole game? Because truthfully, it was very clear that ball that was caught out of the flat, he turned and started to make a football move when he got hit. That should have been a touchdown.
Couldn't disagree with you more. I do not agree with you at all. I think that was not a fumble at all. He had not made one football move. He had simply
turned upfield,
and the defender was on him. There was no turning upfield.
Bro, he turned upfield. On top of that was not a catch by Goddard. That was very clear. He did not have possession as he was stepping out of bounds, and you're going to give him that too. So there were.
I am. Yeah, I think.
So there's a number of situations here to put it all on one call, and we still haven't even addressed that situation as a whole yet. No. That's the other thing that's so interesting to me, that people have very short-term memory as far as what that is, and it's almost similar to what it feels like happens with like the Oscars. You have something be incredible in like February or March, but you just remember December. So you forget about what just happened all those months ago. So that's a lot what kind of felt like about some of these calls too. We just want to pretend like other shit didn't happen during the game that wasn't sus as hell.
Yeah, fair enough. I have to say, I thought it was not a fumble because he catches it and turns. He doesn't take a step forward. He just catches it and turns. To me, that's not a football move. He has to step that foot forward. Then it's a fumble. The Goddard catch, you absolutely can make a case because he is bubbling the ball a little bit. And look, they took a look at it. They reviewed it. All the refs, and not just the refs on the field, the refs up top, up there were taking a look at it. And in the end, they gave him the catch, which is really interesting.
Rocha, you heard Mike Pereira, right? Mike Pereira looked like he was about to throw. He was about to look like the offensive coordinator for the Bills. He was about to throw his headset and go fuck somebody up for that call. He was so mad because he was explaining, here's the thing. He started to get the ball, but you see here, he doesn't have full possession.
Right.
In that case, he only has the 1 foot. So that is clearly not a catch. And then they're like, and after review the play, the call stands. And Mike Pereira, they're like, Mike, are you good? He goes, yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. That's all, like he just sounded
That's the most you're
mad
going to get from Mike Pereira.
because he likes his job. Because he likes his job. And he's like, I have a nice, cozy job where I hang out in New York and I watch all these plays and I get to have fun making these calls. But he was like, okay, back to you.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I know Kansas City Chiefs fans who, by the way, come on, you've been helped by the refs in the past. I understand they could have complaints about the fumble, have complaints about the Goddard catch. Those are earlier in the game, man. And that shit kind of evens out because I'm sure there were some calls against KC that weren't called in the game, some holding, because we see that. That's the game, and those things kind of balance out. And the Goddard catch wasn't like the catch against the 49ers. That was such a huge catch at the time that led them to getting that first touchdown, and then they hurt Brock Purdy on the next series. That you can attach some things to. But the Goddard catch isn't that big of a deal. The fumble, not fumble, you could argue that's a bigger deal because if they get the ball there, there's a complete change in momentum in that first half.
Yeah, because that was another score.
So fair. I think that's a fair one to be. Yeah.
I was out here in these streets to be like, if they give this to Bolton, which they should have, he's an automatic candidate for MVP, 2 fumble recoveries for touchdowns. And someone at my house was like, man, he was just the right place at the right time. And I was like, and
that's like your job.
Because you know what could have happened? Because on the second one, a dude was right there and he had to very quickly shuttle his way in there, bro. So I don't know. But again, you want to talk about situations where this Eagles defense failed and Andy Reid was doing the damn thing about why this game when it went.
Yeah.
2 of the touchdowns from Patrick Mahomes were from full-blown coverage by the Eagles. In both cases, you did a little bit of motion to see what the defense is doing. You send him back, and then you make it think like he's going to do one thing. He just cuts to the out, wide open. Nobody touches him. And then the next drive, the exact same thing happens.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is when you think about how much time of possession the Eagles had over Kansas City. There is no reason in such a short period of time that they could keep it, which just means how much more efficient the Kansas City offense was as well. And it does not mean that the Philadelphia offense wasn't incredible. It clearly was. But for the Kansas City defense to hang in there that entire time, knowing you were being run into the ground with the timing of these drives.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs still pull this off, bro. This was the Chiefs. In my opinion, this was the Chiefs' dominance and experience and will to win, despite an incredible display from Jalen Hurts in that offense. Yeah. This is just showing what experience can really do. And no, it doesn't matter how long they have the ball. We'll get it done.
Yeah. You see that we see that in international football all the time. Winston, one team has possession, 80% of the possession or 70% of the possession, but they can't translate it into goals. One team has 30% and score 3 goals. So you just never know. It's what you do with the time of possession that matters. And certainly looking at it, the final statistics here, the Eagles had the time of possession 35 minutes and 47 seconds. The Chiefs 24 minutes and 13 seconds. They got more out of their 24 minutes points-wise than the Eagles did out of their 35 minutes. And that is what matters. Another aspect of this, and I want to get your thoughts on this, I think the Chiefs' defensive game plan was so smart because they shut down the running game. They allowed Jalen Hurts. They knew they weren't going to be able to do too much on Jalen Hurts. He got 70 yards. He got 3 touchdowns rushing. But Kenneth Gainwell, 21 yards. Miles Sanders, 16 yards. Boston Scott, 8 yards. That's a smart decision by the defensive coordinator to be like, look, he might be able to beat us with his arm. He's going to beat us with his legs. Let's shut down the running game. So he's relying on his arm more and more, relying on these read calls that are going to exhaust him as the game goes along. Let's put all our eggs in that basket.
Absolutely.
And that ended up being a smart move because if you look on the other side, Pacheco had 76 yards. Mahomes had 44 yards himself rushing, which is insane to even think about.
McKinnon 4 for 34, meaning he's averaging 8.5. Like, you know what I'm saying? Their run game got it going.
Yeah, they helped to balance things out for Mahomes, a hurt Mahomes for sure.
Well, on top of that, these are 2 different ways at which you're trying to attack somebody's weakness. Again, you saw a lot of, like, you're told to hit low anyway, but you saw a lot lot of shots where they were trying to take Mahomes out from the ankles.
I don't know what you're saying.
Let's just be real about that. But then what they did on the flip side for Kansas City, like you said, it's not only from the standpoint of we know that what makes Hurts even deadlier is his movement with his legs. Obviously, he scored 3 rushing touchdowns, but they knew that the injury for him was in his shoulder. So it's like, let's see how healthy the shoulder is. Make him throw it all day. And to that point, 304 yards and a touchdown through the air. My God, injury or not, my boy handled his business. But you go on the edge of this will be much harder technically for them than if we let them just run all day, which is the truth. If they had been allowed to run that ball like they really wanted to, you are really in trouble because more of the clock is going to get eaten up.
Absolutely. 100%. I think the Eagles absolutely wanted to establish a running game to eat up the clock because how do you beat Mahomes? You keep Mahomes off the field. That's how you beat Mahomes. That's how you beat Brady. That's how you beat the great quarterbacks. You limit the amount of time they have on the field. And I think the Eagles wanted to get that running game going. A lot of people said they called a million 4th and 1 sneaks or called all these sneaks. Yeah, they just want to keep possession, keep the clock rolling. And they almost outlasted these Chiefs. They almost got the job done. But Mahomes and the play calling here, and shout out to Bieniemy, shout out to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, whatever game plan they dialed up, and they dialed up some game plan in that second half to be able to take advantage of these Eagles and find those 10-yard, 15-yard pockets that are deflating for a defense to constantly give up. We saw the Bengals defense just crumble as the Chiefs were driving down the field consistently. In that second half in the AFC Championship game, they did it again against these Eagles. I was way more surprised at seeing the Eagles give up those large chunks of yardage consistently over those drives in the second half to the Chiefs than I was the Bengals doing it because I anticipated that from the Bengals defense. I really was surprised at how the defense of the Eagles got completely hoodwinked by these Chiefs in the second half. And that is the reason. You stop them once, you win this game. And they couldn't do it. And that was just a wonder to behold as I was watching this game.
It was, I mean, and that was the thing that was so interesting, man, is with all of this happening, with all the coaching that's going on, with all the excellent gameplay from all positions, those lines, again, people were so sure that Patrick Mahomes' line was going to falter.
Oh, totally.
But they did not allow him to get touched all game, literally 0 sacks, which is crazy when this is being called the greatest D-line in football.
True.
It's wild. But I think the thing above all else, I understand roster top to bottom.
Right.
Here for the Eagles is considered the best on paper. And they were still the number 1 seed in the NFC. So they are the real deal. I found it so wild to me when you have Patrick Mahomes, and no matter how good Jalen Hurts is becoming, but we're talking about the dude, he doesn't necessarily have to put up 500 yards on you. He just knows how to make the right plays at the right time. And you just look at that eye test like that, and he's the reigning MVP of the season. The underdog. That was kind of crazy to me. I wouldn't have necessarily given the Chiefs some massive, you got to give the Eagles 7.5, nothing like that. But like for the Chiefs to be the underdog, that didn't make sense to me because this is 5 back-to-back AFC Championship appearances, 3 Super Bowl appearances in that time, and at the time we're 1-1 and now are 2-1. It makes 0 sense that they were listed as the underdog here, and I'll tell you. The thing that was super dangerous about that, I think above all else, the Chiefs have done exceptionally well. They tend to win games as come from behind situations. Told them they are behind when the game started, and it put them in a mindset of fine. You want to put us down? We'll show your ass.
Well, they did in the second half, certainly. I think the first half, they let that overwhelm them a little bit, but they took care of it in the second half for sure. But yeah, I mean, it was on the cards. Going in 24-14 and injured Mahomes my prediction was very much in play, and
Yours
then
was aggressive.
Well,
yeah,
but
14 points with such conviction. I wish we had pulled the replay of what you said. He was like, I want you to know this.
I'm telling you.
Jalen Hurts, that Eagles defense, the Chiefs have no chance.
If the Eagles had played in the seccond half, they played in the first half,
they will win 50 to 36. It will be a massacre. It will be a devastation of no bounds. Yes, I'm a Commanders fan, but you heard what I said. These Eagles are
I didn't, because I tell you this, they brought it up in the this is very funny. They brought it up in the halftime. Whoever was, I forget who was the host of the halftime show, but she said the 49ers were up 10 points on the Chiefs in the second half, and they came back and won that Super Bowl. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, but Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than Jimmy G. They ain't going to give up this 10-point lead. They're going to slowly keep adding to it. This is over. That's what I thought in my head. And then the Chiefs come out, and the way they marched down to that touchdown, I was like, what the fuck is going on here? What are you doing? And it was just smart play calling. They understood, they assessed that Eagles defense, and they understood what plays in their playbook to call. And they got so cocky, they whipped their big dick out and ran that little circle play around that tackle eligible thing around that was, I thought that was going to cost them the game.
I was a little mad. And I was hoping, I love Mahomes. I was hoping he was about to get lit the fuck up for that shit.
I thought that's cocky. Yeah.
You are only allowed to do that if it turns into something. For them to do it and then be stopped, I was like, see, y'all look embarrassed right now, bro. That's not a good look at all. And now you've probably woken the giant because that was not great. But
I thought that was going to turn it around. When that ball hit the ground on that throw, because he was throwing it away, I thought, oh shit, now the Eagles are going to be pissed off and come back and win this.
But you got to give them, you have to give them credit. It has always been said, like, above all else, it's not about how you start, it's how you finish. And how did they finish? 100%. They finished by looking the Eagles and what they were doing, looking at how they were playing defense, and they said, cool, got it. And they just fully adjusted. And my confidence went from a fuck because of his ankle at the end of the second half and where things were going to they're going to win this game. Because they marched. It wasn't even, there was no hesitation. They just marched down the field, got that touchdown. And then someone brought up in the comments, and I agree with this, that punt return was massive.
100%.
That was another situation where I thought Tony was going to end up in the conversation for MVP because he already had that great touchdown catch again off of a broken coverage. And then he almost ran it all the way, stopped and said, nope, that's closed, and almost made it to the end zone.
He was 5 yards away from the end zone. That's insane to think about how close he came. And that pretty much would have blown the game wide open. And that was pretty much
it. Still did. It blew the game wide open because they still scored off of that.
But let's take a quick break, and then we'll jump into this call and have a conversation about it, because I know we want to watch a bunch of replays on it and see what our feelings are about it. We'll do that right after this. All right, Winston, before we get into the call, we've got a couple of Streamlabs that have come through here. Matt B said, I guarantee the NFL is going to make a rule change on that rugby scrum QB sneak. It's so broken how unstoppable it is. I don't think they should. Just because you've figured out how to game the system and you've got a quarterback who has tree trunks for legs and can get himself across that first down marker, that shouldn't be disallowed just because someone's been able to master it. That's ridiculous. He's done it, and there are not a lot of quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts and an O-line like the Eagles have that can take advantage of that rugby scrum type of quarterback sneak. Certainly Garrett Huntley would love to be able to have done that with the Ravens, but didn't. So what do you think, Winston, when you look at this? Do you think they'll outlaw it or make some changes around it?
Bro, I don't think they should. Tom Brady used to do that. Say his little sneak was its own level of like, what the hell, where he would just dive under and nobody could stop him. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah, but that's the thing. Jalen Hurts, it's been known that this man can deadlift 600 fucking pounds.
Yeah.
Hell no. If they figure that out, and because it's 1,000% legal, and what they're doing is they're letting him churn his legs and have someone from behind make sure he gets there. Yeah. Absolutely not. It is fully legal. They should be allowed to do it. And if you can't figure it out, and you saw the Chiefs kept trying to adjust.
Yeah.
You saw Chris Jones at one point. I laughed. I was like, Who that big boy? That's the one and only time in his life he's ever crowd surfed, and like he has a job to do, but you got to guarantee he was enjoying that because what do? Like, what do? You can't stop it, and that sucks. But it is what it is, man.
Why are you going to penalize intelligence? This is the thing that drives me insane.
And skill. It's still skill because even if it is using physics to your advantage, you still have to have Jalen be able to churn his legs like that, and you still have to have those people behind him really give him that bump. Exactly. It's terrifying how good they've gotten at that, but
it's going to pay dividends down the road. It certainly will. Fantastic saying Kansas City had to play in their pocket with that fake motion by the receiver that moved the defensive back way out of position for easy touchdowns. Great play call. 100% right. Like those 2 touchdowns where the guy was wide fucking open. I was like, how are they falling for this nonsense? It was insane how many times Mahomes was able to find like completely wide open receivers. I don't mean over the flat with a guy about 2 yards away. I mean wide open receivers.
There was literally nobody there.
It's incredible. Yeah.
The fact that Tony in the first one had time to be like,
yeah.
It felt like he was about to start a Soul Train line as he was walking into the end zone. He was just like, come on, baby, let's go. Like and then have it happen again.
Yeah.
That is what's ridiculous. What if it happens once? Damn, we screwed up. Never again.
Right.
How do you let the exact same thing happen on the next touchdown by this team, just mirrored on the other side? How does that happen? And I saw, people smarter than me talking about this.
Yeah.
Ryan Clark and them were talking about on First Take, there's a point at which the Eagles needed to stop playing man and consider some zone based on how they're getting beat in these plays. Yeah. That's what's so crazy, because there was even a situation with the Pacheco and Juju Schuster-Smith based off of what just happened in a previous play. Yeah. They did a fake where they had Juju look like he was going to like try and like help on the flat, and then he just put himself right there in a wedge where they're wide open, and boom, you ended up with a massive first down, and then they were able to get out of bounds and conserve some clock. Like it's mind-blowing how well Andy Reid helped guide them with the play calls and Bieniemy. That was crazy. Absolutely.
I fully believe that Bieniemy blows these interviews, because I cannot think of any other reason why a team hasn't snapped him up to be their head coach. I know you could say, because he's black. That's certainly a possibility you could factor in this whole situation, especially when you see one like Jeff Saturday possibly coaching the Colts. But like, to me, when you look at this situation, it feels to me like Bieniemy likes where he's at, enjoys working with Andy Reid. He knows he is the heir apparent, even though Andy said after the game he's going to come back next year. Stop it already. I understand that, but Bieniemy here, I wonder what the situation is, because you're right. The way they dialed up this offense was incredible. And there's probably plays in Bieniemy's playbook that he has not put into motion for 10 years because the play hasn't called for it. He's got so much that he is doing in his mind with the personnel that they have. When you see it play out the way it did in the second half, I was awestruck, absolutely awestruck, watching how he was able to fool these Eagles defenders who had been doing such a great job, such a nice disciplined job on these Chiefs. And I think what you say is absolutely right. Ryan Clark is absolutely right. The Eagles didn't plan for the Chiefs making adjustments to their game plan. And I think that's what ended up biting them in the ass. And Sirianni and these guys, they needed to look at this tape like all summer long, man, all went off season long, and look at the mistakes here and understand that they've got to be better as a football team going into next year. Because I guarantee you this, 100%, if they play any other team from the AFC, they win the Super Bowl. No fucking way. They win the Super Bowl. But because Patrick Mahomes, Bieniemy, and Andy Reid, that is a hell of a brain trust offensively, they were able to eventually figure out this Eagles defense and grind them to the ground and throw that ball all over the place and demoralize them, because it is demoralizing to constantly be giving up points when you have a lead in the game like the Super Bowl. So, but anyway,
real quick, because I'm curious about this. Why on God's green earth? Because you guys didn't fire Ron Rivera. Supposedly the Commanders are courting Bieniemy as their offensive coordinator. Why would you leave Patrick Mahomes chilling with Andy Reid for another offensive coordinator job to a team with no quarterback? Yeah. And what? There's no way in hell I would do that. You better tell me you got something wild, like Patrick is willing to leave the Chiefs and go with you, or like Jalen Hurts is done with the Eagles and wants to stay within the division and go to Washington. Otherwise, who would do that? That doesn't make sense. Even if it's like, hey man, you make like $7 million a year, we'll give you 12.
Yeah.
That's not, I'm not a millionaire, so maybe that 4 or 5 million means something, but like, why wouldn't I stay here, continue with my clout to play with two of the GOATs, a head coaching coach, one of the GOATs, and one of the quarterback GOATs, to go to such a messed up situation for that kind of money? That's weird.
Maybe he thinks Sam Howell is the next Patrick Mahomes. Maybe he thinks Sam Howell is the guy. Oh yeah. You know what?
Okay.
A lot of people said that face when they handed the keys to Patrick Mahomes to lead the Chiefs. They're Winston A. Marshall. So you never know. You never know. And what would scare a Cowboys fan more than the Commanders and the Eagles having two good quarterbacks behind center? Nothing would scare a Cowboys fan more. All right, let's take a look at this this call, the big controversial call, the hold situation that happened. This was a lot of conversation. Of course, I was fucking around with a lot of the Chiefs fans yesterday, tweeting about it over and over again. A lot of angry Chiefs fans who were mad about this. But you look at this situation. Here's the play. There you go. He's right there. Is
so
the hold,
holding
right?
the jersey there, but
He's
then it continues. You are turning his hips. Look at that. He has it by the waist, and he's turning. No, but that's the thing. You can't use him as leverage to turn your own goddamn hips. This motherfucker, bro, he turns
right there. He even pushed him out so he had a better separation.
No, he was holding him more than everybody's gonna be holding their boo tomorrow for Valentine's Day. You can't do that.
That's ridiculous.
Not. And it's funny because the article you pulled from the Ringer about how this may have been technically correct, but it felt wrong. While you could say that if you want to, and I don't disagree with people that were like, God damn, you're gonna do this right now.
Yeah.
Shannon Sharp used a great example during Undisputed this morning, where he goes, you hear that a bank, though he got specific, the Wells Fargo on Wilshire got robbed. I show up and go, I robbed the bank. You don't get to then go, no, we'll let it slide, even though you admitted it and all that kind of stuff. It's not important. We said the bank was robbed. You admitted that you robbed the bank. That's a wrap. Bradbury said himself.
He did.
I pulled his jersey. I was hoping they weren't going to call it, but they called it. Right. So if you are admitting to wrongdoing, that should be the end of this discussion. That's it.
Yeah, well, and that's fair, but this is the same Winston A. Marshall who was complaining about the Celtics fouling LeBron on a drive to the basket that cost them the game. So what is the truth here? What do we do here? Do we call it or not call it?
They didn't call the foul. They didn't call the foul. I was complaining they didn't call the foul. That's the problem. Okay. In this case, there was a foul and they called it. So that's why I'm like, okay.
I feel like they shouldn't have called it. And I'll tell you what, because it's the end of the game. You don't want the game to end this way. And you're right. Bradbury totally admits it. So, you put that to rest. He says he did it. He did it. And looking at it, of course, there's a hold. There's a little bit of a hold there, but it's not impeding his movement. And I think that's what's hilarious to me is people try to say like, he yanked him back. He didn't yank him back.
He would have been able to go get that ball. That is bullshit.
I'm
not to let you do this.
It was a bad throw from Mahomes.
Play the whole play because you did it without volume, right? That he would have cut. He was gone, but you pulled his jersey and you turned him. He can't get there if you're holding.
Oh, stop it. He didn't turn him. He was able to break away. Look, you played flag football. You've hit those arms off of your hands as you're running. That happens. A little tug isn't going to keep you. And it was a quick tug. Now, by the letter of the law, is it a hold? Yeah, absolutely. You call it, blah, blah, blah. But in a pressure situation like this at the Super Bowl, and by the way, there were plenty of video that are out there. I couldn't compile them all of holds that were done by the Chiefs cornerbacks on the Eagles receivers during the Super Bowl and vice versa. So this had been going on the whole game and the refs had not called it. Calling it a crucial moment like this, I think that's the mistake is like, what, you got to read the room a little bit.
Okay.
You get the situation.
You know what I'm not here for?
You know what
I'm not here for?
Go ahead, please.
This situation, I'm going to take it real deep. And I'm going to apologize ahead of time because I just need somebody as an example. I'm going to apologize ahead of time to Lady Outlaw for bringing her into this.
Why you bring
But let's say you were out here in these streets being a dog. You were just out here just doing
too old
Rocha,
to be a
how
dog.
how could you? And you got examples of here and there where you out in these streets doing things you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
And the one time she catches your ass, you're like, but now you would have called me now. There was all these examples before, but you didn't want to say nothing. But now, right on our wedding day, you want to do this right now? Yes, because wrong is wrong. And if now is the time that I caught your ass, then you caught, motherfucker.
But I think you could also give credence. Yeah, I don't think it was a foul in the way that you normally would call a penalty like that. I mean, I could see calling that in the first quarter. I can see that for sure. But to me, when I'm looking at the video, the way I look at it, and I know you see it differently, I don't see him being impeded in a way that would absolutely affect him getting yards downfield. No, from where Mahomes threw that ball, which was yards past him, I don't think that happened at all. He just yanked him for a foot or two, yanked and then let go quickly, and then was around him. You can touch the receiver as long as you're not impeding the receiver's movement. But you can't yank the jersey, of course, for extended amount of time.
So here's the thing that's interesting. Rocha, can you real talk? Do you still have it? Because I am very curious about one little thing.
Yeah, sure.
Because what may have actually made this worse than it was, and you would have had an argument potentially, is the grass, which once again, the grass becomes the MVP.
Fair point.
He probably would have, if the grass wasn't slipping and sliding people like spring break, bro, he definitely would have. See, look, the grass again. Go ahead and play it.
Yeah, let me turn the sound down so I don't get any strikes.
Absolutely.
Okay. So right there. Okay,
you see
that?
He can't really get his footing because of the grass, and he's doing what he can.
All right, but how long did he hold him? Like it was a split second. He held him.
But with that kind of traction, that all it takes, and then you put hands on his hips.
But you're allowed to hit a receiver within 5 yards of the line. He is within 5 yards of the line. He is not impeding his movement, as you can see here. He clearly made the turn.
His hips to slingshot yourself. Stop this.
He moved his own hips away from the defender. Let's take a look at it frame by frame. All right, let's take a look at it. You know what? Let's do this frame by frame. All right, right here is the hold. Absolutely right there is the hold's jersey tug, which lasts about 1 foot. Lets him go easily.
But you see how hard it is. You see, again, because
he is making the turn. Smooth-Schuster is making the turn here with that foot forward.
Yes, but look at how he's trying to stop his hips from turning. He is grabbing this man's hip to be like, nah, motherfucker, you're not going nowhere.
But he's not. But he's not impeding.
It's on top of the fact that it's twice, bro.
But look at Smith-Schuster. Those are full strides he is taking. There is no impeding that is going on here with Smith-Schuster. And he gets away from him eventually, and then Mahomes overthrew him. And that's really the end of all this thing. There he is. He's pushing off the defender with his arm, and then he's creating separation.
Rocha, this has been talked about so much with like linemen and about holding calls there. It was very interesting. We didn't see a lot of those in between linemen, but there was a number, like you said, there was a number of instances where it happened. A lot of it has to do with how much are you doing? And the fact that he went back for more. He barely got away with the one pulling on the jersey at the beginning, but then he also put his hands on his hips. I guarantee you that ref was like, and he did it again. He said, bro, that's it. Because the flag came out right after the hip tug. Because then someone tried to use the argument that Juju Schuster-Smith didn't make a big deal with his body language.
He didn't.
The holding call. Yeah. But that's nonsense because the flag was already on the field. I don't need to make a big deal out of it if the flag is already out. Okay. That flag came out the second time he decided to put hands around him to slow him down the second time.
Yeah.
That's what's so crazy.
But I don't disagree with you. But I disagree with you. I don't think he was being held back that second time. He was doing exactly what you're allowed to do, which is to hit the defender within 5 yards of the receiver within 5 yards of the line. He was not holding him. He had his hand on his back with the hand flat, and the other hand was there on top. You're allowed to hit the receiver within 5 yards of the line. The first one is a hold. I'm not going to disagree with you there, but it's a quick hold, and to me, it's not that big of a deal.
So here's
it's not overt. And I think with a situation like that, you got to call it when it's overt at the end of a Super Bowl. Ruins the game.
Here's I guess the last little tidbit about it, that again, where differences come up with, like, say, people wanted to keep trying to bring up the Saints as an argument and what happened with the Rams and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't even know. It's the same thing, dude. That's
much more egregious. It's not, but it's this idea on top of it, though, You genuinely had the entire game to not let this happen. Yeah. And the call was still the correct call regardless. Okay. So it's not like you were robbed where a no call happened and you were clearly wronged.
Right.
We can all admit that was a foul. People are just mad about when it happened and be like, you just tried to. No, they still did it. Versus in the Saints situation, that no call where it is egregiously a foul and they were genuinely robbed in that scenario. Nobody was robbed here. You're upset about when they decided to make the call. And those are two very different things. There was nothing here that wasn't technically an illegal move. It was technically an illegal move. And that to me is the big difference here.
Well, I don't, but I tell you that I think you can't, you're talking about it in a vacuum. And that isn't the way life exists, especially not in a Super Bowl. There are other factors that have to be considered in a moment like that. Refs swallow their whistles all the time in critical big finals games or Super Bowl games because they want to let the players play. And unless it's egregious, especially when the last few minutes of a game, they are not motivated to blow the whistle. We've seen this many, many, many times. Jordan pushed Byron Russell into the 6th row of the Utah Jazz stadium, and nobody called shit. So, I mean, if you're okay with that push off, but you're mad about, and you're saying the penalty should. I'm confused about where you land. If you like the Jordan push off, but you think this is a penalty that should have been called. You
didn't ask me if I like the Jordan push-off.
Well, I'm just saying for people who watch it.
You didn't ask me if I like the Jordan push-off as the first thing. And the thing that I think is like very different about that wasn't a game-ending call. There was still time for things to happen. We had already seen a donked field goal that was supposed to be a layup. So like,
are you trying to say the Eagles had 11 seconds left? They had 11 seconds left.
No, I understand that, but you could have stopped them. You could have blocked the field goal. It's not like the thing was over at that point. It wasn't the final play of the game that you're making this decision off.
I mean, technically, you're right, but 11 seconds.
So we're talking about technicalities, is what you're telling me.
Because technically, an elephant can hang off the cliff tied to a daisy. Those are the different kind of things when you look at it. But to me, it is, and I think Sean Brennan said it well, no matter what side of the fence you're on, the fact that we got denied Jalen Hurts with like a minute or so to see what he could do as a young quarterback and see if he could lead these Eagles down the field to either tie the game and extend one of the greatest Super Bowls ever into overtime, that would have been really, really fun to see. So I think that's where overall I look at it more from the larger picture, and it was a shame that this phenomenal game had to come down to a call like this, and all it did was reignite all the drama around the Chiefs that the refs are in their pocket, which of course the Chiefs used to complain about with the Patriots, that the refs were in the Patriots pocket. So have a little self-awareness if you're a Chiefs fan. If you're hearing other people complain that the refs are in your pocket, don't get so upset, because you were doing the same thing about the Patriots a few years ago. This is a balance. There's a balance that has to be achieved, is what I'm getting at.
No, I get it. And I hear people saying that. And to be honest with you, the real person that robbed us of seeing what Jalen Hurts can do in the final moments was once again the grass. That last Hail Mary pass was awful. And if you go back and look at it, it's because he slipped. Yeah. Because once again, so if there is anything to say something was robbed and egregious, it is 1,000%. There is no reason that almost $1 million grass was causing players to slip and slide like that. The people had to swap out cleats, and that still wasn't helping. If you want to be mad about this game, it's 1,000% those conditions were unacceptable for a championship game.
Fair enough. All right, well, let's talk about Patrick Mahomes' legacy real quick here, Winston. Second Super Bowl victory, 3 Super Bowls now that he's been to, 2-1 in these Super Bowls, 5 AFC championship games. I was saying he had to win a second Super Bowl, or this was, you could say he was tied with Dilfer for Super Bowl victories, with Brad Johnson for Super Bowl victories. So for all the big blah, 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 he only had 1 Super Bowl victory. So having the second one now, how does this, what does this do for your thoughts of Patrick Mahomes? Does it make it just much more clearer where he sits in the greatest of all time quarterbacks? Did he need this second Super Bowl? And now that he has it, at only 27 years old, by the way, what do you see the future is for him? Are there 4 or 5 Super Bowls victories possibly in Patrick Mahomes' future?
I'll be honest with you. After watching LeBron do what he did and watching what Patrick Mahomes has done in only 6 years as a starter, there's a very distinct possibility that we could be looking up a decade or two from now and Patrick Mahomes had surpassed Tom Brady. That he has more rings, that he does more stuff.
Could be
because
something.
this is year 6 as a starter,
right?
And he's already he already had a situation where they showed the 2 stats of the runs of wins for the Patriots between the same period of time, both before and after, and the Chiefs are wedged at number 2 at 75, where the Patriots had 77 and 73 on the opposite ends. For them to have wedged themselves in there that quickly, the fact that he had already, like, yes, Brady went to 3 and won 3, and honestly, they barely lost that game to the Bucs, where he could have had this conversation where maybe he was 3 for 3 in Super Bowl MVPs and wins.
Who barely lost?
Mahomes. They missed that. They missed that by like what? They missed that by 1 drive. The Bucs lost. They missed it by 1 drive.
You mean in the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
the Buccaneers and the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Mahomes missed that
win like 47-12, man. It was not close. What are you talking about?
That doesn't sound right. If I remember correctly, they were
break it to you, man.
No. If you might, maybe I have got that wrong.
Tampa Bay won 31-9 in that Super Bowl.
Okay, then my bad. Do you have Mahomes stats though? Because I'm so curious about.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Mahomes was having to do it all himself in that game because of the Chiefs just having issues on the offensive side of the ball. I think there were some injuries. So yeah, but I can look it up real quick as you're talking. Go ahead and keep talking. And
I all I'm saying is, okay, that's not great. He was 270 for 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So okay, I take that back. That was not a very good game on his play. But like you said, people were not like, there was a one play that hit Tyreek in the hands for a touchdown and he didn't hold on to it. So there was a lot of things just not working well for them. That's not great. The
Bucs were in their minds the whole game. The Bucs were ready to win that game.
And that genuinely sucks. But all that being said, the dude has 2 MVPs. He's been to the AFC Championship 5 times. He's been to the Super Bowl. He's been to 3 of Super Bowls in those 5 appearances and won 2 of those Super Bowls that he appeared in and got MVP both times.
Yep.
That's insane. So he's going to have to finish it. But if Patrick Mahomes retired today, he would be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
100%. Oh, 100%. Yes, absolutely. I mean, now that he's won the 2nd Super Bowl, in my mind, one of the greatest to ever play the game. And if he wins a 3rd or 4th, he's not going to touch Tom Brady, but he could be 1B or 1A to Tom Brady.
No, if he goes and wins, I'll tell you this.
Win 7. He's got to win 7.
If he gets honestly, if he plays like this, if he plays like this, and he only gets another 3, so we got the 5. He was 2 behind.
Mm-hmm.
I would potentially give it to him.
Give what to him?
GOAT status?
Are you insane?
Why?
What are you talking about?
Because it's already ridiculous to win more than 1 Super Bowl. Let's be 100% honest. It's already ridiculous. But if Mahomes is winning MVPs, if Mahomes is continuously going to conference games, if Mahomes ends up playing another 3 Super Bowls at least and wins another 3 MVPs and titles, are you kidding me?
You're
like,
insane.
how is he not in the conversation about being?
If he takes the Chiefs to 10 Super Bowls, then we can have a conversation. Bro, like, to me, that's the thing. That's the Tom Brady bar is so high, no one is going to meet. And here's another part of this. Because I'm telling you, I'm going to use Winston's logic. I'm going to tell you what you're not going to do. You're not going to come in here and tell me the Patriots have the same number of weapons as the Chiefs have had under Mahomes and Reed and Bieniemy. Get the fuck out of here. Those receivers are nobodies almost across the board. They had almost no running backs that were anybody's across. Santana Moss.
Don't do this. Don't do this.
Absolutely do this. For fuck's
sake.
Randy
Moss.
Come on.
Wrong.
Come on. The Chiefs have had way better players.
Wes Welker, Julian Edelman. You're not going to do this.
Possession receiver. Get the fuck out of here, man.
Dude. Julian Edelman, are you kidding? Are you freaking kidding me, bro?
He's a possession receiver, Edelman. He is not a streak down the fucking field.
He caught The last Patriots win that he had over here caught a ball in triple fucking coverage.
I know he caught. Look, all receivers make great catches, but he ain't no Randy Moss, for fuck's sake. That's a star receiver, and the Chiefs have had him by droves. So they've had good receivers, good running backs, much more weapon. I mean, they just had more weapons to me than the Patriots have had. Now, you give Patriots Gronkowski, absolutely, but they didn't have a Gronkowski in the first few years when they were winning Super Bowls. So you got to go back and look at all this. And to me, Tom Brady did more with less than Mahomes has, which is why he'll be the GOAT forever. No one's ever
do this. And the other reason why, and I
gotta
give
say
Brady,
LeBron is better than Jordan.
I have to give Brady credit going for Tampa for this reason and this reason alone. You want to know the real reason why Tom Brady is out here in these streets winning these games? He obviously has to play like Tom Brady. Let's be real. He still has to be himself. Yes. But he is on teams where those defenses are in the conversation of top 1 to 3 defenses in the league.
So get better coaches, Kansas City. You can fucking afford it.
But
give me a break.
But to that point, Patrick Mahomes just did that with a defense that was kind of middling of the pack.
Wait a minute. That's not true. This defense was good this year. Very good this year. What are you talking about, man? Come on. Come on, Winston. You're just saying that to...
I am not just saying that to say that. I am not just going to let you sit out here in these streets. And then lastly, when you wanted to bring up this whole idea of Brady's got all these rings, so there's that. So are you telling me then, because he has significantly less rings than him, that Jordan's not as good as Bill Russell?
Jordan's not as good as Bill Russell. Different situation. One is a guard, one is a center. That's a complete different situation. And it was not... Hold on. How many black people were in the NBA when Bill Russell was winning those titles? Yeah, come on now. You got to put things in context. Come on. It was like
how many black quarterbacks were in the league when Patrick Mahomes was out there that were actually of worth? I'm not talking about Dak Prescott's. You just started getting Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson's, and Lamar Jackson can't win no goddamn playoff game. So stop this. Oh my God.
No. So yeah, I mean, you can make a case, but to me, I don't think he'll ever get to that level until he's got a few more Super Bowls in the because Tom Brady was consistently taking the Patriots to the playoffs and to AFC championships, 2 Super Bowls, and then went and did it in the twilight of his career for another franchise. That's a feat that's going to be really hard for Patrick Mahomes to mirror, because I don't think anybody's going to lose love and respect for Patrick Mahomes and the way he plays the game, the way he handles the game. His brother is a bit of an ass. His wife is definitely riding his fame for her own stuff. But Patrick is a humble guy, and he plays the game strong. He believes in himself. He's a warrior. The pretty boy looks, sometimes you can forget, just like with Tom Brady. Both those guys have warrior spirits. Patrick on the sidelines after he got that injured ankle before the half, he looked like he was just distraught at how severe this ankle injury could be. Whatever they did, either shoot him up or do some kind of therapy for his ankle, he came out and he powered through it and deserves all kinds of credit for gutting out a victory here for these Chiefs. Dude. And you could make a case that Jalen Hurts deserved the MVP more than Patrick because of what he was able to do to keep the Eagles in it, despite them shutting down the running game. But that Patrick 26-yard run, throwing those touchdowns in the second half, going 12-13, that's just too much of a case to deny giving Patrick the MVP of the game, because he's the reason they won that game. So you got to give him credit 100% across the board, along with Andy Reid and Bieniemy, of course, for sure. But how do we think about Jalen Hurts here now? And we'll take a break after this one, Winston. Thoughts on Jalen Hurts? What an incredible game he played here against these Chiefs, against what he was what he was up against. Which, there were a lot of people who thought that people were overestimating the Eagles and thinking they were that great. Well, he showed up. He broke the Super Bowl rushing record for a quarterback, becoming the first one to rush for 3 touchdowns, first to throw for a touchdown and run for 2 or more scores. He surpassed Steve McNair and broke the rushing record for a quarterback with 70 carries on 15 yards. He became the second quarterback in Super Bowl history to rush for 2 touchdowns when he scored twice in the second half. He tied Chicago Bears quarterback Jim McMahon as the only quarterback in Super Bowl history with 2 rushing touchdowns, as I said earlier. And then there you go. So how do you assess this for what he was able to do in his first Super Bowl? Some quarterbacks can't handle their first Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts handled it like it was just the next thing to do in his life. And he was very gracious in the press conference. I look at how Cam Newton reacted losing Peyton Manning versus how Jalen Hurts reacted. Jalen Hurts sat there and answered all the questions, gave all credit to the Chiefs, said we got to work on things for next year. But he also said something really profound. He said, sometimes you can get lost in the wins and losses of the game and forget that there was something really precious about going on this journey with these men in this locker room. And I thought that was a really incredible thing for him to say, and a lot of perspective for a kid so young in the position that he's in. How do you assess Jalen Hurts coming out of this Super Bowl?
By the way, the Chiefs were pretty close to that defense being middle of the pack. They were averaging at around 13 out of 32 teams. Great. So that's 13. I rest my case.
It's pretty high.
That's almost 19. You're not going to do that. You were 3 teams away from being half.
More teams are below you than above you. That's a good place to be in. But anyway, go ahead.
Fight your ass.
The 13th installment of the MCU was good. Anyway, go ahead.
See, there you go. Truly, I was just trying to math that myself. Haskell says it's 17th overall. But they kept averaging around somewhere between 10 and 18.
I don't know if I trust Haskell. He's a Jets fan. He's kind of disillusioned by a lot. He's still trying to get Aaron Rodgers. He thinks Aaron Rodgers is
17th. Everybody's saying that. Sean Brenneman, he's going to be pretty objective about it because he's guys and guys for the fucking Chiefs.
Yeah,
so it was 17th.
Sean Brennan, very objective. You're right. Anyway, go ahead, Winston. What are your thoughts on Jalen, bro?
You want to talk about a situation where you can love and hate something so much.
Yeah.
What Jalen Hurts did yesterday was absolutely phenomenal. Watching him ball like that, watching a black quarterback ball like that, watching a young black quarterback that hasn't done it before play like that, and essentially outplay the other dude that ended up walking away with the victory. And there is this horrible gut feeling of doing your absolute best. And your best is clearly the best on the court, on the field, in whatever you're doing. And yet you don't end up with the dub. That is soul crushing.
Yeah.
So that part of me does feel some type of way where I'm like, God damn, I am rooting for you like that. As a Cowboys fan, I'm obviously happy that this did not work out for them. But the reason why I get upset about how well he did is purely for selfish reasons. Again, as a Cowboys fan, I now have to deal with arguably the best quarterback in the game. I don't know if you give him that crown necessarily because Mahomes still found a way to get it done. But this feels like, even with all of these quarterbacks you're talking about, this now all of a sudden feels like a 2-horse race between him and Mahomes, even though Burrow is so good, even though Allen is so good, even though all these young quarterbacks across the league are showing what they're made of. Trevor Lawrence, there's so many really good ones.
Yeah.
There was this weird conversation about Jalen Hurts about did he actually get better? Is it the defense that's kind of willing this forward, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah.
It was a combo that got the Eagles to where they were because, again, once the Eagles defense were not able to do what they were doing, they could not pull out the victory.
Yeah.
But if you really needed proof that Jalen Hurts has become that dude, it was watching Gardner Minshew go out and the team suffering that hard. Yeah. And then it's watching Jalen Hurts this entire postseason handle his fucking business like nobody has seen, to break that many records and whatnot. And I am, again, as a black man in America that likes watching football and has liked this new era of watching black quarterbacks shine, I could not have been prouder of Jalen Hurts and the way that he handled this. But as a Cowboys fan, I am so distraught. How do we do a situation where somehow we give them Dak and take Jalen? You know what I'm saying? How does that work? What do I need to do? Do I need to get into a blood pact with the devil? What has to happen for us to switch roles? Because that's what's crazy. I do not think that Jalen deserved the MVP in a loss. I know a lot of people were saying that. I know how good he was playing, but I think the thing that gets taken into consideration, I do not doubt for a second that Patrick Mahomes was genuinely hurt in that tackle.
Oh, 100%.
People that are he Paul Pierced it, which Paul Pierce has admitted decades later, a decade and a half later, that he had to take a shit. So he started screaming bloody murder so they can get him out of there because it's the fastest way that he's going to get off the court. If all of a sudden he's they have to rush him back.
Right,
so this is one of those situations because you saw how he was limping, and it wasn't just a limp to get off the field. He was limping the whole rest of the game. It is very clear they wrapped the fuck out of that ankle. They hit him with one of those legal shots they're allowed to do to kind of numb the pain and shit like that. And he finished because he was still limping on some of those plays where he would run forward and then he would slide. He'd get up and be like, damn, okay. So I don't think you can give, if they had won, it's not even a question who gets the MVP.
Oh, sure.
But for
right.
you have pulled this off
yeah,
on that injury and not have any major mistakes, I don't think that there was ever a consideration Jalen would have gotten the MVP without the win.
And I think that's what you have to factor in. The way he got, as I said earlier, the way he got the job done in the second half. And don't discount that 26-yard run. I think that cemented the MVP as soon as they won the game. That 26-yard run was the reason they got so close to the end zone and were able to get the job done. Seeing him run on that absolutely blown ankle for 26 yards down the middle of the field, it showed the kind of will and heart this kid had to win the game. And that's the thing at the end of the that you have to award or reward for the effort for sure. All right, let's see here if there's anything more we want to jump into before we take a break. No, let's I think that's a good, hour and 10 minutes on the Super Bowl. I think we're good. Let's take a quick break. We're going to jump into some of your Streamlabs and then a couple of things with the commercials and Rihanna right after this. All right, Winston, let's hit these Streamlabs. Clarence Bell said, just spreading some love. The Chiefs won. My boyfriend is happy. I'm happy. Oh, there you go. Absolutely. Give you a shout out to your boyfriend there, Clarence Bell. Doug Developer says, man, I felt so bad for Hurts as he gave it his all and came so close to winning. Guy is just very likable. Have you ever felt bad for a losing player that wasn't on your team? If so, who? Oh, that's a great question.
Say that again. What's the question?
Have you ever felt bad for a losing player that wasn't on your team because of the effort they gave in a game?
Hurts might be it. I don't know how bad I can feel because I really wanted the Eagles to lose. Mm-hmm. Like I that's just, unfortunately, there's going to be very few situations where I'm ever pulling for the Eagles. Like the Super Bowl, the Eagles did win. Against Tom Brady. I was pulling for them then because I really hated the Patriots and I really hated Tom Brady. So that was a rare exception.
Right.
But I do feel kind of bad for Jalen Hurts here as much as I can.
Yeah.
Because he played an incredible game.
Yeah. I absolutely felt bad for Jalen. Look, I'm a Commanders fan. I fear these Eagles. I fear Dak figuring it out. Although I loved the Eagles fans booing Dak when he was getting his humanitarian award.
Come on. This is what's wrong with Philly. I get that you just go boo people all the time. The man won an award for his humanitarianism, and you decided,
that shit was loud, bro. It was loud.
Are you kidding me? And now the winner of Peyton Man of the Year for community service and making the world a better place, solving world hunger, ending all wars, and being the greatest philanthropist of all time. Dak Prescott. Boo! And now the man that saved the city of Philadelphia by himself by donating all of his money and his time and his energy. Dak Prescott. Boo! Come on.
But yes, I felt bad for Jalen because the guy's got a great head on his shoulders. I think he's going to be leading this team to a number of Super Bowls, no doubt. He's just got if he stays injury free, I think he's got a real strong future ahead of him. And Commanders, the Cowboys, and the Giants are going to have to do everything they can to keep pace with these Eagles because Sirianni is a young coach and a smart coach, and he's only going to get better. Don't forget, Andy Reid was a choke artist until he got to Kansas City and got these 2 Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes. But the big thing with Andy was that he blew it all the time with the Eagles, and having McNabb throwing up and being casual on the final drive of the Super Bowl against the Patriots only reaffirmed that he couldn't motivate his team to step up to the plate and get the job done when it counted. Now that's kind of put to bed with these 2 Super Bowls with the Chiefs. But Andy got better as a coach, got smarter as a coach, solved his time management issues. And those are the things that you might be seeing with Nick Sirianni much sooner rather than later. I also felt bad at the time for Russell Wilson when they lost to the Patriots. I thought he was a good guy, and that loss was heartbreaking because it was such a dumb call by Pete Carroll on the sidelines there. I felt bad at times for players who were not on my team when we beat them or when they lost in big games for sure. Because as a sports fan, and hopefully you all get there, I see some of y'all getting all vitriolic and what have you. But as you get older, you just appreciate, no matter what team they play for, you appreciate seeing greatness because you can marvel at it and still hold true to your fandom, but you can still marvel objectively. Like Emmitt Smith was one of the greatest running backs ever. I never had anything negative to feel about Emmitt. Emmitt was a class guy who played the game in a class way. And when he beat us, I was always like, fucking hell, he beat us, but he was always a class guy and I never hated Emmitt, Even Troy, I didn't really hate that much. I thought Troy was a nice guy. Romo, that's another conversation. But anyway.
Hate on Romo. And I will say if you just brought up the Seattle loss, I didn't feel bad for Russell Wilson. I mean, at that point, we still kind of thought he was like he was a nice guy, not some of the drama that's come on, including him supposedly maybe only donating 25 cents to the dollar of the money that came into his foundation.
Yeah.
I felt bad for the Legion of Boom because how fun they were to watch them as a group. And I felt bad for Marshawn, who literally is one of the nicest guys on the planet, living his best life, doing all of his stuff like that. And he is considered at the time, he was at least the best running back in the playoffs, if not arguably the best in the league at the time with beast mode. And you don't give him the ball on the 1 yard line
it makes
for politics reasons. I felt awful for Marshawn on that.
And want to wrap this up by this conversation about Super Bowl and everything by saying to everybody, I was born in Philadelphia, so I have a little bit of, kind of. So a lot of people in here in the chat going, why is Rocha cheering for Philadelphia? He's a commander. I was born in Philly, so I have a little love for the Phillies. The Sixers, the Phillies, the Eagles. So I've got a little love for Philly, y'all. So please. All right, let's move on real quick. Winston, a lot of commercials that dropped during the Super Bowl. I know you got to go in 13 minutes. So anything stand out for you? And we'll skip the movie trailers because that was pretty much a letdown, a bunch of 30-second spots and a couple of damn good trailers for sure with The Flash and Guardians of the Galaxy. But were there any commercials that you liked or that stood out to you?
So I really liked is it Coors Light? Is it Miller's Light to hit me with the no, it's a blue moon commercial? That was
the martial arts one, the anime.
That was pretty good. I really loved that. I was getting a little nervous there about that Amazon commercial where they were showing this dog tearing up the house. And I was like, maybe if you were better fucking owners and spent time with your dog, you're just going to put him in a goddamn crate. I appreciate that the final lesson because I was like, not that crate training is bad, but that is not, I don't want this idea of just like, if you're a bad owner, just put your dog in a crate and that'll fix it. I appreciate that the end was, no, we got him a friend and then he calmed down. That was, I appreciate that. But I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that were interesting. I love the Trojan horse one. I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh, that was funny. Yeah.
I like the Jack Harlow one about Jack's new angle where he's like, I'm done rapping, triangle dog. And it's I thought, and then for him to lose the Grammy to Elton John, I thought that was amazing.
A great subtle shot at the Grammys. Yeah,
I really did. I loved Ben Affleck working at Dunkin'.
Please.
For her to show up and be like, is this what you've been doing when you said you go? And I'm like,
yeah.
So even though they're married and there's supposedly this love story, we already saw last week at the Grammys where she looked like she was cussing his ass out about something, and now he's getting yelled at in a Super Bowl commercial too.
It's perfect.
But I've thought a lot of these commercials just missed the mark, dude. Like the Danny McBride one was stupid in my opinion.
Yeah, I was dumb.
I didn't really like the DoorDash we do groceries now thing. I mean, I guess it was okay, but I was kind of not really feeling that. The Gronk missing the kick was stupid. I didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah.
The Netflix one with GM was really dumb.
Will Ferrell one?
When you had the Will Ferrell. I mean, it was always fun to see Will Ferrell, but like it just didn't really connect.
Yeah.
I felt like you obviously kind of had the forced ad placement with Heineken for Quantum Mania, which was okay.
Right.
And then to be honest with you, there were two that really pissed me off.
Okay.
The first one, the Binky Dad.
Oh, yeah.
I was mad as hell about that. And I know someone's going to be like, Winston always got to bring up race. If that had been a black dad, ain't no cops going, we got to get this man an escort. He needs to get his binky. If I had seen them do it with the black dad, I might have been one way. Or if they'd done it with the mom, because a lot of the women that were here were like, that's bullshit. Because a dad doing the bare minimum, fucking up and doing the bare minimum is a hero. If a mom forgot the binky, they'd be like, what a shitty mom she is. And I was like, damn, I ain't even going to touch that. But the ladies have a point. And then the last one, bro.
Yeah.
Them damn Jesus commercials.
Oh, boy.
I may go to hell for this, but I'm sitting here. I'm like, oh, this is really touching. What's going on? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And someone at the party goes, did they just try and trick me to become pro-life? What the fuck just happened? And it pissed me off when the first one happened with the little kids. for them to come back at a lot of the protests that are happening where Black people are upset that they're being murdered by police. And they go, but we're all one people, baby. Why are we upset? Jesus understands. Oh, and someone even said, hold on, let me pull this tweet because this absolutely killed me about how spot on this tweet was about trying to leverage Jesus in this way. The tweet read, a $6 million ad about a guy who spent his entire life telling people to give to the poor and help the needy.
That's a genius tweet. That is a genius tweet. Yeah, the people behind those ads are anti-LGBTQ people. There are a number of organizations, including the Hobby Lobby guy, who's the owner, who's notoriously pro-life and anti-LGBTQ. So don't buy that shit. Because I bought the first commercial when they were talking about refugees and Jesus. I was like, oh, this is great. You get to understand, maybe break down this idea of your racism towards people who are coming across the border, or people, and then you realize, oh fuck, this is all a trick.
Here's another one. Someone goes, didn't realize Jesus had an advertising budget.
Well, Jesus always has an advertising budget, yo, for centuries.
Isn't that what why you take 10% of tithes and offerings to put together this ad budget
for the building fund? Here are my 10. Love the NFL. Love the NFL. Run with it with the young Latina chick who does the tag flag football. That was inventive. That was hilarious. The Squarespace Adam Driver in his Keanu Reeves phase of his career. I dug the shit out of that. The Farmer's Dog one broke me. It had me crying by the end with the age of the dog. I love the Brighter Boston Sam Adams one where everyone's like nice to everybody in Boston, which is genius. The Breaking Bad Popcorners one, which was great. Affleck's Dunkin' Donuts, I agree with Winston. And there's a whole minute of outtakes that's on YouTube that you can watch with him having a conversation with other people. By the way, low-key, some of the best acting J-Lo's ever done. Rockstar Workday, I thought that one was really good with the rock stars telling, don't call everybody a rock star. The Blue Moon Fight, yeah, absolutely. So those are my 10 that I really enjoyed. Real quick, because I know we got to go in 8 minutes, though. Thoughts on this, Winston? I tweeted about it. My tweet kind of semi blew up, so I got like thousands of likes on it. But I loved the halftime performance. I thought she was great. I knew she was pregnant. She didn't have to announce it to me. I knew she was pregnant.
How did you know? Nobody knew.
The way she was holding her belly.
During the performance. I thought you meant before. I thought.
No. As soon as she showed up, I was like, oh, she's pregnant. Yeah.
Well, no. Not as soon as she showed up, because I was giving the costume people credit. They did a very good job of hiding it until they got some close-ups.
Yeah.
And you started seeing that she wasn't moving as much, and she was kind of cradling. And I was like, so at first, I had, again, some women here that were like, I appreciate the fact, like, God, I feel good as a woman right now that, like, she hasn't fully gotten rid of her baby body and she's out here killing it. Good for her.
Yeah.
And then I was like looking at it, I was like, no, the way that weight is holding, she looks like she might be pregnant again. And I even tweeted, I was like, especially during Shine Bright Like a Diamond at the end, because it's like you and I that are beautiful. Like, I was like, is she singing to the baby right now? Is she pregnant? I was like, I don't want to be that dude. Because you're not supposed to ask a woman if she's pregnant. Like, is she pregnant? And then, of course, a couple minutes later, the rep confirms this was her way of subtly announcing that she was pregnant again. Yeah. I thought that she did a phenomenal job with all of that being said. I would have been fucking terrified, regardless of pregnancy, but especially pregnant, to be that fucking high up, just like a floating. I love the comments where someone said it looked like a Super Smash Brothers stage, the way the platforms were set up. But I think my highlight for it has to have been how mad Rihanna's Navy got when they found out she's pregnant again, and they were ready to bust A$AP Rocky's ass, because they're like, you mean I'm not going to get an album for another 2 years? You son of a bitch, A$AP. If I find you, I'm going to beat that. They were so mad. They should have been happy that she is embracing motherhood and excited to have another baby. They're like, how dare you take the music from her?
Come on, people. If I was Rihanna's husband, she'd never not be pregnant. She's so gorgeous. She's so gorgeous. I've cleared this with my girlfriend. To me, she is the hottest woman on the planet, just top to bottom, man. She's gorgeous. And so when I saw her doing, and I saw some people criticizing her for the lip syncing or for motherfuckers. If you were on that platform, you'd be hanging to the edges, crying for your mom. She has got the guts of any tough person you could have, to be able to move the way she did and the dancing. I could give a fuck if she was lip syncing. Is she giving me a good performance? This isn't a concert I paid $600 to be in the front row for. This is a fucking performance at the halftime of a Super Bowl. Lip sync the fuck all you want, man, as long as you're doing these incredible choreography, and the dancers did, and the movement of the platforms, all that shit. She was so high up. She was so high up. All these nerdy male writers bashing her this morning. I was going crazy. Y'all would piss your fucking pants if you were that high up in the stadium doing what she was doing. So give her a fucking break. Plus, she's fucking pregnant.
Well,
you know,
the other part of it too is maybe there's something I missed. The only lip syncing I saw was her background vocals of herself, because there were plenty of moments during some of the choruses she wouldn't have been singing. She would have been singing the main part. So that, to me, it still doesn't totally add up.
I think it was a combo of both, maybe. Yeah.
And again, like you said, being pregnant, so like she's in shape as one could be as a performer like that. I'm sure she probably doesn't have the full energy and lung capacity to be out here doing all sorts of stuff. I could be wrong, because obviously we've seen incredible feats from pregnant women. Serena winning a goddamn major while pregnant. So who knows?Maybe she is, but I do not blame her if she's like, I'm good. I'm still going to sing, but I'll be careful about when I'm going to do it, because I got to come off this heavy-ass, this high-ass platform and whatnot. Also, talk about the marketing. Pulling out Fenty Beauty, bro, real quick, to check her stuff before all the lights. And apparently the sales for that skyrocketed, of course, after she did that, which was genius.
Genius, man. I wish she was holding an Outlaw Nation banner or something. That would have been great.
Game Time. I listen to all my sports commentary from Game Time. Just real quick. That explodes in fireworks at the end.
I just can't afford that, Winston. I can't afford all right, real quick. One last. We got a couple of quick ones before you leave, man. Derek Carr will not waive his no trade clause, so the Raiders are going to have to let him go, or they'll owe him $30 million by Tuesday night or Wednesday morning. Where do you think he's going?
I mean, I think that there's some real serious stuff going on with him potentially ending up in New Orleans.
Wow. Okay. Even though they won't trade, he's turned down a trade to New Orleans. You think he's going to go to New Orleans anyway? Is this his way of fucking Vegas by going like, you're not even going to get anything from me because you guys are screwing me over by letting me go? Do you think that's his tactic?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily blame him for that. I think true. Way to treat him as such, man. So
okay. One last thing here: the Jets, Ed Haskell's team, have asked the Packers to talk to Aaron Rodgers and maybe even work out a trade for Aaron Rodgers. Do you think that's going to happen, or do you think that's just the Jets trying to do stuff and no one's going to complain for it?
I have seen this movie before. Can we stop with the remakes? Like, honestly, can we stop with the remakes? We don't need to keep doing Little Women 50 times. Okay. Like this is little annoying men from the Packers at this point. They're gonna, I'm gonna retire, I'm not gonna retire. Go to the Jets, have an abysmal time, end up at the Vikings, can't make it to the Super Bowl. What else are you gonna do? And then we're gonna find out Aaron Rodgers out here stealing money. Like, come on, tired of this shit, man.
And just to hedge all their bets, the Jets added a coach today who has ties to both Derek Carr and Ryan Tannehill. So he's going to keep himself. So they're going to keep themselves in play for all these teams. So very, very, very funny stuff as well. And just real quick, a sad note just came over the wire. Washington Nationals owner Ted Lerner has passed away at the age of 97. So shout out to him, certainly bringing baseball back to Washington, D.C. That was a big deal. And the Nationals did end up winning a World Series a couple of years ago. So shout out to Ted Lerner and seeing the vision of Washington baseball back in Washington realized through his ownership of the team. So, but 97, man, you lived a good life. Go and enjoy the afterlife, young. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. We appreciate it madly. Winston, where can they find you and everything you're going on in your world, my man?
Yeah, you can find me at the Swaggy Blurred on all platforms. Part of the reason why I'm actually wearing this hat, if you guys are curious, is I just finished shooting my SVU for my sports victims unit for the Super Bowl. You know, I was trying to find the angle and I found it. I found it this morning while I was on my morning walk to like kind of meditate and get in the right headspace. I was like, oh fuck, I got it. So I'm very excited. I need time to edit it. So unfortunately, it probably won't be up until late tonight, probably tomorrow, because as soon as I finish here, I got class, and as soon as class is over, I got Quantum Media today to the screening. So you'll probably see it tomorrow. But other than that, come watch us over on Capes and Cows, doing some really great things, having awesome discussions, over there with Christian and Coy. So definitely check that out over on Christian's channel. And the Bel Air rewatch should be out this week, as well as the recap each week after that when that show gets underway.
Right on. And one last Streamlab from Ed Haskell. Hey, guys, talk about dynasty building. Dan Orlovsky said out of 32 NFL teams, the teams with the most rookie snaps were Chicago and Houston at number 1 and number 2. KC had the 3rd most rookie snaps and just won the Super Bowl and has 11 draft picks in the upcoming draft. Yeah, that's a lot to consume. And certainly that means this Chiefs train is, if they select correctly, is just going to keep rolling for quite some time. You saw every team in the AFC for that news just all of a sudden go, God damn. So there you go. To be the man, you got to beat the man. That's how it works. As for me, you can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, The Outlaw Nation on Twitch. And all my podcasts, The Geek Buddies, Cinephiles, The Top 10. We have 2 weeks left of the Top 10 show, then it's riding off into the sunset. So come and listen to us.
Wait, really?
Oh, yeah. You didn't hear that?
No.
Yeah, we're ending the show on the 27th at 6 p.m. PT. We're doing one final live show, and that's the end for us. And we're rolling on out of here. It's been a great 8 years, but it's time to put it to bed. Both of us have got other interests dragging us away. And honestly, 8 years, that's a long time to do it.
I am sad to see it go. Congratulations on an 8-year run. And you reminded me of the last thing I forgot to plug. I'll give more details soon, but I've got a new comedy podcast coming out soon, and the video of it will air on my YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed, again, at the Swaggy Blurred.
Oh, wow. Is that you and Matt Nost? Is that what it is?
So no. It's not. No. I'm going to have you on the show at one point if you
Please,
want.
I would love to.
You. Yeah.
Winston took my sadness and turned it into his own plug. You like the way he works? Jesus Christ. Anyway.
Hey, isn't that what a turnover is, bro?
That
was a pick six. That was a fumble recovery.
That's right. And right now we just dropped the spoiler review for episode 5 from the Geek Buddies on the Outlaw Nation channel. So if you guys want to watch that, head on over there and watch that as well. And like Winston, I'm going to see Quantum Mania tonight. So look for my out of theater reaction dropping on the Outlaw Nation later tonight. All right, y'all be well. Take care of yourselves. Thanks for being with us through the whole season. We appreciate it madly. Thanks for the Streamlabs Super Chats. And every single week, y'all showing up and supporting this channel means a lot. Please subscribe if you haven't yet and hit that bell button. Hit a like and leave a comment. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of Game Time. Peace, y'all.